Everything is setting up right now. Just one more second here.
It says it's live.
Perfect. There it is. All right. Okay. So right now we just have Dr. Verder League. I don't see the other candidates yet. Let's see here. So we'll wait a few minutes. Everybody's ready for tonight?
Yep.
All right.
Are you ready?
I've been ready. I'm a little nervous always at the beginning, the first time we're trying to do this, to make sure the technologies are all working. Looks like everything's live and functioning. I just want it to work well. Tina, if you're still on, I don't know if you have a shared application that's popping up on your screen. It's as showing that there's a window there.
This window keeps popping up, but I have absolutely everything but this closed.
Okay, now it's fading away.
Yeah, it keeps coming and going, but I'm not sure.
So what other, if you have applications open, you said nothing else is open?
No, I have Zoom and PowerPoint, that's it.
Always something, isn't it? Well,
Yeah, how many times did we do this before?
Yep, didn't see that once. Didn't see that once. Hi, Kat.
Hi, can you hear me?
I can. You're not going to be a panelist, so I'm going to have to mute you again, okay?
Right, I before you do that really quick, I just want you to know from our end, all we do is just see the format that you just put up, and I only see 3 of you on the screen. Is that what you want?
Well, your screen display will vary, but whoever talks should pop up on the screen. And because we're doing the shared screen, yeah, you see now how there's no shared screen?
I'll be right back.
Okay.
I'm
So
restarting
I'm just
it.
giving you guys feedback. So when we go live, we're just have a bunch of people in the background like myself, and I just see 4 of you right now.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
Enjoy. And are we convening after this or no? Okay.
After Thursday.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Okay. So I don't know where our candidates are. We've still got a couple of minutes left.
I'm back.
Okay. Nice to see you, Dr. Rodriguez. We're still waiting for our other candidates.
Okay. Hello, everybody.
Well, I was hoping to start giving instructions right now, but we can't do anything until we see everybody else. So to all of our attendees who are watching right now, we're still waiting for the rest of our candidates to arrive. Once they get here, we will begin.
Hi, Sue.
Hi, Rosanna.
Hey. What? Good. Let me lift this up a little bit, I think. Oops.
Okay, here we go.
There's better.
Welcome, Vernon. Welcome, Alexander.
Thank you.
See you both.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening. We still have a few more candidates we're waiting on, and then we will jump right in. Did you all receive the instructions I sent previously about the format and everything?
Yes. Thank you for that.
You're welcome. So Mina is connecting. Good evening, Mina.
Yes. Are you guys able to see me?
Not yet.
Huh.
James, can you talk about not using the chat? Because we've already got people in the
Yes.
chat.
Yes, I will hit those instructions once we get started.
Not sure why I'm not showing up when should I go back out and try to come back into the,
Yeah, you know, it's giving me a stop video, so that I assume that means the video is going, but it's not coming through. So
okay,
try leaving
let me
in.
try again. I don't know what to tell you. I just had a Zoom meeting with everybody else, with the city attorney and city manager, and it worked fine. Yeah, when I stop the video, it just brings up my picture, but then what's it saying on your end?
It's just a blank screen. It's just a black screen for you. Your name is there, but for some reason your video is not coming through.
Yeah, well, I logged in with the email that was sent to me. I mean, there was a couple of them that were sent out.
Right, yeah.
So should I try another one? I mean,
It's all the same email. It's just being repeated so that you get the, you know, a number of
okay.
copies of it. Yeah, I don't know how to fix that at this.
Nobody else is having this problem?
Not at this point. No.
Is everybody in, or otherwise I'm just going to keep trying while others sign in if you don't have everybody in already?
Right now we have 4 of our 7 candidates logged in.
All right, well, let me try a couple more times since they're not in. I
Okay.
apologize. I don't know what to tell you. I mean, Vernon, we were right on, you know, another Zoom meeting a few minutes ago, so I'm not sure what happened.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
I saw Mina on that. When we were all together.
Exactly. So I'm
Mina,
Has-
make it quick because we have to get started with or without our other candidates.
Okay.
Okay, so while we're waiting for Mina to log in, I'd like to go ahead and get started. Here she is. She's coming in. Camera is showing as being on, Mina, but we're not seeing you yet. So let me go ahead and jump on in. Good afternoon to everybody. Thank you for joining us tonight for the ValPAC and VCA Vallejo City Candidate Forums. Tonight, we will be focusing on our city council races here in Vallejo. Tonight's forum is sponsored by the Vallejo Chamber of Commerce Political Action Committee, as well as co-sponsored by our Vallejo Chambers Alliance, which is the Solano County Black Chamber of Commerce, the Solano County Phil-Am Chamber of Commerce, the Solano County Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, and the Vallejo City Chamber of Commerce. Our moderators for tonight are Loretta Gaddes, the Vice President of the Solano County Black Chamber of Commerce, Sue Vaccaro, the Vice President of the Solano County Philam Chamber of Commerce, Leo Callejas, the Vice President of the Solano County Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, and myself, James Cooper, the President and CEO of the Vallejo City Chamber of Commerce. So I'm going to go real quickly through the format. The candidates have already received this information, but we will go over it again real quickly just to make sure we're all on the same page. This is a scheduled 90-minute event that may take a little longer than that. All candidates have been advised we may go 10 or 15 minutes past the 7 o'clock end hour. This is to accommodate our ability to ask eight total questions of the candidates. The event is viewable on Vallejo Chambers Facebook Live. Each candidate will have 90 seconds for their opening statement, 90 seconds to respond to each question, and 90 seconds for their closing statement. We will have a timer on screen. The timer will be controlled by the Vallejo Chamber of Commerce. If for some reason the timer fails, the moderators will keep track of time, and I will advise you how that works if that were to happen. But what will happen is, as you see in your screen right now at the top right corner, candidate opening statements, when we get started, a timer will appear, and it will show you that you have a minute and a half in order to complete your question. So please, candidates, try to confine your answers to 90 seconds. You can finish your sentence if you're at the end of your 90 seconds. We won't cut you off, but we don't want you to carry on so we can stay on time. For the attendees, so if you look down at the bottom of your screen, you will see a box that says Q&A. All candidates have been advised that attendees are welcome to ask questions in the Q&A area, and that the candidates have the option to go into the Q&A box and to answer any of the questions that they see. Please don't ask your questions in the chat box because we will not be monitoring that for questions. We again thank all the attendees for being here tonight. So without any further ado, it looks like we have now another candidate has joined us. So do we see Christina? I do not see Christina yet, and I do not see Pat yet, but that does leave us with 5 candidates ready to get started. So with all that being said, we're going to go ahead and get started. So we've already determined the order that we will be asking you the questions. So candidates, this will be your order. Our first respondent will be L. Alexander Matthias. Dr. Rosanna Verder-Aliga will be second. Vernon Williams will be third. Mina Diaz will be fourth. And Helen Marie Cookie Gordon will be fifth to answer each question. If Christina and Pat join us, they will then become our 6th and 7th respondents. We will rotate, moderators, I should say, will rotate who's asking questions. And each of you candidates will have a chance to be the first respondent as well as to be the last respondent. So does all that make sense? Okay, very good. So without, go ahead.
I have one question. So just to confirm, I'm answering questions first on every single question that's raised.
No, you are not.
Okay.
You will answer the first question first, and then Dr. Rosanna Verder-Aliga will answer the second question first, et cetera, et cetera. And we actually will start the rotation with our candidate opening statements. So any other questions, candidates?
No questions.
James, can you, there's a live question in the Q&A about Mr. Michael. Why is his name crossed off?
He is, okay, thank you very much. Thank you, attendees. Mr. Louis Michael is not appearing tonight, so he's simply crossed off the list for tonight's forum. He is still a candidate for District 3. He's just not able to join us tonight. So I'm sorry if that causes any confusion. Okay, is there anything else? You ready to start? Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. So I'm going to take our candidates into their opening statements. And so if I can have our timer brought on screen, we will have our first opening statement made by L. Alexander Matthias. Mr. Matthias, when you're ready.
Thank you. Good evening, members of the chambers and the community at large. My name is Alexander Matthias, and I'm running for Vallejo City Council District 1. I'm a 31-year-old operations professional with experience in the public and private sector, homeowner and community member in District 1 who has called Vallejo home for a number of years. I currently serve as Vice Chairman of the Code Enforcement Appeals Board and possess a graduate degree in public administration with a concentration in city and county government management. I'm running for City Council because Vallejos deserve a city that works for all. A Vallejo that works for all, a safe, easy to navigate via car and public transit, and has the infrastructure in place to support individuals, families, and businesses. We all know the city of Vallejo needs change now. City Hall has had time to create jobs, build healthier and safer communities, beautify our city, and effectively manage your government, and it hasn't. It has raised and plans to raise taxes, has not delivered on promises made, while your quality of life has steadily declined. I am of the view that we can't solve longstanding city challenges with the same solutions and elected officials who created them. It is time for a fresh, courageous, and compassionate leadership that works for all of Vallejo. I look forward to sharing my plans over the course of this evening and the weeks ahead. Thank you for having me here tonight.
Thank you very much. We will now move on to Dr. Rosanna Verder-Aliga. Dr. Aliga, just before you start, I don't see the timer going yet. So if you see me raising 3 fingers up, that means you have 30 seconds, okay? Okay, so let's get started. Go ahead, Dr. Aliga.
Good evening. I am Council Member Rosanna Verder-Aliga, and I'm running for City Council District 1 because I am passionate about Vallejo and I care deeply about my community. I've lived in Vallejo for 39 years, married to U.S. Army veteran Nestor Aliga, and we raised 3 sons who all attended Vallejo's public schools and graduated from California public universities. As we deal with the unprecedented challenges, it will take all of us working together to move Vallejo forward. We also need leaders with experience, courage, and integrity. I firmly believe that I possess these qualities and skills, which have been honed in my 25 years of public service and as a mental health professional. As council member, I supported the following: implemented police reforms, decreased blight through neighborhood law program, balanced the budget with $14 million reserve, approved development with Nimitz project and Southern Land Company at Mare Island, funded the arts, youth, seniors, homeless navigation programs, and approved Vallejo's general plan. If elected, I'll prioritize financial stability, police reforms, public safety, economic development, and continue the progress that we've started the last few years. I humbly ask for your endorsement and support. I am Council Member Rosanna Verder-Aliga, candidate for City Council District 1. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Verder-Aliga. Now we would like to hear from Vernon Williams. When you're ready, sir. Oh, you have to unmute.
You muted?
Can you hear me now?
Now we can. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you to the Chamber Alliance, the business community, our distinguished panelists, and the residents watching in for inviting me to tonight's forum. My name is Vernon Williams III, and I was born in this beautiful city. I'm the proud descendant of the first Black pipe fitter to ever work on Mare Island. And if you asked me, I'm a loving husband to my beautiful wife, Sandra. We're proud homeowners here in District 1. I'm a father, I'm a grandfather, I'm a baseball coach, and a businessman. I founded and am the executive of 2 local businesses here in Vallejo, one of which creates vocational training, post-secondary education, and employment placement opportunities for high school youth that prepare them for the workforce. The other, a local youth travel baseball program called Phenom Baseball Academy. I currently serve as the vice chair of the Vallejo Sister City Commission and have held the offices of the treasurer and secretary within the association. I hold a BS in criminal justice from Colorado Tech. In an interview, the great American inventor Thomas Edison once said, "I was afraid of the dark, so I invented the incandescent light bulb." In that same inventive spirit, I'm running for city council because I'm tired of seeing, and I'm deeply concerned about the existing declining condition of our city. I want to infuse innovation and new ideas into city leadership to tangibly address the several issues of improvement with effective solutions.
Thank you, Vernon.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so next we'd like to hear from Mina Diaz.
Yes, good evening, everyone. I'd like to apologize that my video is not working. I tried to log in a couple of times, but anyways, the point is I'm here and I'm very thankful to be here. Again, my name is Mina Diaz. I'm running for City Council District 3, which is the Glen Cove, everything east of Rollingwood Avenue, the Granada Hills, Regents Park area. I've been a resident of Vallejo for over 36 years. My children were born and raised here. And the reason that I'm running, one of the reasons is I want to ensure transparency, accountability, and community participation, which I think that especially community participation, we have been lacking. I also look forward to having a sustainable, balanced budget that does not have to require to pass measures periodically in order to be able to sustain the city. And I'm the founder of the Diaz and Loera Centro Latino. It's an organization, a nonprofit organization that assists the community. And I also founded and direct a program that serves the underserved students at both the Vallejo High School. I'm a commissioner on First Five, also a board member for Solano Children's Network. I was recognized by my work in fighting poverty by United Way of the Bay Area, receiving the Achieve Award. I'm also the co-founder of the Summer Academy. I retired as an employment case manager after 28 years of employment. My duties were to help people become self-sufficient. I bring all of this experience to Vallejo, and I sincerely hope to earn your vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Mina. So now I'd like to welcome Helen Marie Cookie Gordon for your opening statement.
Yes, hello, how are you doing today? Again, as my name is Helen Marie Cookie Gordon. I'm here to, can you see me okay?
Yes, we can.
Sorry. I'm here to say why I would be honored to serve as a council member for District 6. I have been doing a lot for the community throughout the years I've been here, which is since 2005. Not only did I have an opportunity to leadership and organize to fix our streets for safety for our children, wheelchair cuts, ADA compliance, but also been a proud advocate for our community. Whatever that they are needing, I am not afraid to be at the mic, whether it be school district or be at the city hall. One of the reasons I want to run for city council is because, one, I want to not only continue what I've been doing with the legacies of everyone, but also to make it permanent for when I'm long gone. I believe that our city has so much to offer, and I believe that South Vallejo also has an opportunity for beautification, equity, safety, and most importantly, to create more to advocate for their community. We deserve it. We deserve to live in our best life. Thank you for allowing me to share.
Thank you, Helen Marie. I believe we have Christina Ariola on the phone. Christina, are you available? If you can.
Unmuting.
Yes, I am trying to unmute you right now, Christina. You're unmuted.
Thank you. Yeah. Going from one Zoom meeting to another, it's very challenging. So I'm saying opening Zoom.
Christina, are you with us now?
I see you all and I can hear you all. So I can hear you. Yeah.
Okay, I promoted you up to the panel, so go ahead with your opening remarks.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. I'm Christina Ariola, and I'm running for City Council for District 6. I born and bred in South Vallejo, grew up on Porter Street, was educated in the public school systems here in Vallejo. I eventually went away to college and moved to San Francisco. And during my tenure in San Francisco, after teaching in the public schools and actually taught at St. Paul's in Oakland, I developed a strong advocacy for children, youth in the theater programs and sports. I was very active in the Mission Cultural Center for Latino Arts for many years. And after returning to Vallejo, I wanted to bring my experiences in San Francisco to Vallejo. And when I returned, I was shocked to see the state that my old neighborhood was in. And that's really what motivated me to get involved. District 6 does not only cover South Vallejo, it stretches far beyond, and each of those neighborhoods have their own illnesses, if you will, that need to be addressed. So it is my hope that I can bring my skills, my energy, and my talent to the table to help bring a voice to those that have been disenfranchised in District 6. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And I don't believe Pat Hunter has joined us yet. So because we just have our 6 candidates, we will go ahead and move into question 1. So our first question is going to be asked by Leo Callejas. So Leo, you're going to start with Dr. Rosanna Verder-Aliga for the first question.
Thank you, James, and thank you, Tina, for helping put this together. Welcome to all City Council candidates for City of Vallejo. Welcome to all of our the audience. James, I just want to make sure that I got this right. Will you be putting the questions in the screen?
Thank you. We're trying to do that. For some reason, the screen seems like it's not advancing, and we're working on technical difficulties behind the screen. So if you can proceed with the question, we're going to keep working on this.
Okay. So correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm seeing that the first question is, what are you going to do to clean up Vallejo? Is that the one?
Yes.
All right. So that will be for
Dr. Verder. Dr. Verder.
Yes, Dr. Verder-Aliga.
Just call me Rosanna. Rosanna's fine.
Yeah, so the first question is, what are you going to do to clean up Vallejo?
Okay, good question. Thank you. And I have a minute, right? So I am the liaison to the Beautification Commission currently, and there are 7 members on that commission that live all over Vallejo. One of their projects that will be presented to council is the Adopt a Street, Adopt a Business program. And that is an attempt to clean up and beautify Vallejo, not just in one section of Vallejo, but all over Vallejo. So that's one project. The other issue too, that the other plan also is, of course, code enforcement. We want to make sure that we enforce the law and enforce the ordinance in terms of cleaning up and ensuring that establishments, businesses, or neighborhoods and residents that don't keep their places clean are going to be cited, initially to be cited, and then hopefully not to be fined, because they will eventually clean up when they're asked to do so. There's also the See, Click, Fix. If you see anything in your neighborhood that's not working, it's on the website of the City of Vallejo. See, Click, Fix. It's a way to alert the City of Vallejo so that we can come up and the Public Works Department can come and clean up location that you have reported it to be cleaned up. So again, it takes a neighborhood. It's not just the city that can be responsible for everything. We need to talk with neighborhoods, empower folks to give them the tools and give them the resources to clean up of their piece of property or their neighborhoods. Like again, partner with the chamber, partner with nonprofit groups, churches. We also have the every year we have the cleanup that occurs in Vallejo. So that is many, many ways to clean up our city. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. And James, help me here. Who we go next?
Yes, we're going with Vernon Williams next.
So Vernon Williams, first question is, what are you going to do to clean up Vallejo?
Thank you for that question, Leo. We're getting straight to the nuts and bolts of something's going on with the screen here.
There we go.
That's
Okay.
the second question though.
Yep, go back one.
Okay. Can we pause my time for a moment here?
Absolutely.
We're going to start the
thank
time
you.
right here. I think we're finally got it all straightened out. Sorry about this, candidates.
So is it this question, James?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Okay. Can we do a repeat, please, James?
Yes. Go ahead.
Thank you. Beautification.
So again, what are you going to do to clean up Vallejo?
I think the question is essentially around beautification, which has to be the cornerstone of our economic plan as a city moving forward. We heard Rosanna speak to Click Fix and potential projects that are in the pipeline or in discussion, but that hasn't improved the condition of our city as we stand today. We really have to look into leveraging our community partnerships, designing what we call in the work high-performing communities, where we, as an example, are partnering with our waste management company through a nonprofit organization to train residents on zero waste management and the fundamentals and practices around it, to then employ residents who are trained in zero waste management as an additional realm of community-based support to beautify our city. If we don't focus on the primary cornerstone that I'm glad you asked the first question around, which is cleaning up the image and the condition of our city, we can't further conversations around economic development strategies, around any other platform. There's no discussion until we address how to effectively clean our city, how to effectively beautify and recreate the image and the condition of our city. And that's going to happen as the city takes more of an aggressive role in terms of operating as a lead agency to facilitate these high-performing communities, by which we enrich the community, we beautify the community while empowering our residents and equipping them and preparing them with a skill set that they can be contributors to the workforce. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And again, who will be our next
Nina will
person?
Nina will be next.
Hello, everybody.
Nina.
I'm
Okay,
back.
Nina.
Well, I firmly believe that collaboration between the city, the businesses, and the community is key. And I agree with Rosanna on a lot of the points that she made. I think that, you know, code enforcement, even though our budget is minimal and they've had to do some cutbacks, code enforcement is responsible for a lot of the cleaning up, per se, of the city. We also need to hold the businesses accountable. I, for one, know that on Broadway Street, that there's a corridor on Broadway Street that has about 14 Latino-owned businesses, where at any given time you can see the owners standing outside and washing the sidewalk and sweeping the sidewalk. You know, it's a matter of taking pride. You know, for too long, we have been told and brainwashed that our city is not worthy of much. And in reality, once you start believing that we are just as good as any other city, then people start to take pride. Partnering with organizations that are already doing the work. I mean, Vallejo Together has been doing major cleanups at the homeless encampments, and they've partnered with the garbage service, so they're already doing it. As far as, you know, hiring and training more folks, I mean, we can do that on a volunteer basis, but the budget is so limited that I would like to see more of that focused on other things such as safety. So again, just unity is the main thing, is what's going to make it look like it should. I think my time's up. At least that's what the clock says. Okay.
Yes, thank you. So next one will be Marie Cookie Gordon. Is that correct, James?
Yes.
You can just call me Cookie,
All right.
that's fine.
Cookie, okay, great. What are you going to do to clean up Vallejo?
What I've been doing, basically, and continuing to do what I've been doing, which is whenever I see something don't look appropriate, I reach out to the chain of command until it's taken care of. However, I would like to emphasize partnership with the community and hold businesses responsible who are not doing their part to keeping up their land. And also to partner with, where I live is very unique. We go out to Rollingwood, from Springs to the Carquinez Bridge to Tennessee. So I would want to see us have the same standards that we see in other neighborhoods, like around the theme park. We don't have the same visuals. It seems to me when you leave out of South Vallejo, it's something different. So for me, I will definitely hone into the beautification, have a business look appeal. When people come on and off that freeway, we are the last that they see, and we are the first that they see if they are coming to the city from off of Highway 80. And I want them to see a better opportunity, that they know they came to a city that values every part of Vallejo. No part is greater than the other, that we're all equal. So I definitely would like to create neighborhood captains and see, because they know their neighborhood, and to see if we can work together as a team with the city of Vallejo.
Thank you. Next, Christina Arriola. What are you going to do to clean up Vallejo?
Cleaning up anything has been a big issue with me. It's unsightly, and it brings in other bad elements. I've been cleaning streets since I don't remember when. Back in elementary school, we had the Pick Up Litter project at Grant Elementary School in South Vallejo. I was so proud of the poster that I designed that I was hoping that I would win. Yeah, I believe that it starts in our neighborhoods. It starts at home. You teach your children, don't you dare drop that thing on the ground. You pick it up and throw it in the garbage. You walk around your neighborhood and say, look, this is our neighborhood. We're in this together. Let's keep our neighborhood clean. And then it branches out. That's really the core of it. Now, businesses, absolutely, they should be responsible for their presence, because people shop and people look at that. The parking lots are dirty and littered. They need to take a step higher and clean up their parking lots. On the issue of beautification, because one begats the other, Sonoma Boulevard is definitely the gateway to downtown Vallejo and to our precious waterfront. Beautify that corridor as a welcoming presence so that all of our visitors to Vallejo will see Vallejo shine as it really is.
Thank you. And I don't think we had an opportunity to ask Alexander Matias. Is that correct? So I guess the question will be for you next. What are you going to do to clean up Vallejo?
Thanks, Leo, for the question. And serving on code enforcement, there's specific things that we can do right out the gate. So just a couple months ago, City Council passed an ordinance to extend the responsibilities and powers of the Code Enforcement Division, but did not appropriate the associate funding to make sure that that office is able to carry out the added responsibilities for commercial properties. And so to that end, we've been, it's still in the initial stages, but we're working on developing a set of recommendations for City Council and for the city management team that effectively appropriates discretionary funding that's available to the city management to start to take care of that. And I think, in the coming months, as we continue to see the impact that this has not only on residents, but also on businesses, they will have to prioritize setting aside funding for that. I agree with Councilmember Verder Liga on the need to use the Adopt a Street, Adopt a Business program that's been helpful in other cities. I also see the use and partnership with nonprofit partners. So just recently, Vallejo Street Stewards has been going around and cleaning up. We should equip them with resources to help out in cleaning our city. And then long-term, we should be applying for grant funding from state and federal agencies to clean up Vallejo.
Thank you very much, Alexander. So our next question number 2, will be asked by Sue Vaccaro of the Solano County Philam Chamber of Commerce. And Sue, you will start with Vernon Williams for question 2.
Okay, welcome everybody. Thank you for attending. Vernon, the question is, what is your position regarding binding arbitration, which was once part of Vallejo's charter?
Yeah, good question, Sue. I would first hope that we would be able to come to a win-win agreement, understanding that
Did we lose Vernon?
No, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
You can hear me. Okay.
I think I can't hear him, so we need to give
Yeah, we'll start
Is he
again.
there?
Yes, go
Can
ahead.
you hear me?
Yes, go ahead, Vernon.
You can't hear me.
Yes.
Okay. The question was in
I
reference,
restarted your clock, just so you know.
and the question was in, thank you. The question was in reference to binding arbitration.
Correct.
Okay. The ultimate goal as a city council member would be for us to come to some type of agreement where we create a win-win scenario. If that's not possible, I am not opposed to binding arbitration as long as the impact on our residents is considered throughout that process. And so understanding what the function of arbitration is, as long as the service delivery to our residents is not impacted to where one wins and the other loses, but we are able to work to some type of collective agreement by which we can ensure that we are serving and protecting our residents the way that they deserve to be served and protected, I am in favor. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, I believe, James, is Mina next?
Yes. Yeah, and before you
Okay,
start, Nina,
Nina.
just to our panelists, if you look in the chat area, panelists, I'm posting the order of questions in the chat area. So it's just for you only, but you can that will guide you.
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
I saw that, and thank you. It makes things easier. I am not in favor of binding arbitration. I've not been in favor of it. I think that it's already been decided by the residents of Vallejo. And, you know, I'm going to put it as simple as I can. If my ex-husband and I had $10,000 to do a project here, and he liked to fix classic cars, and I want a new kitchen, would it be fair for a third party to come in and basically decide what is going to happen with those $10,000? At the end of the day, that third party will be gone, and he and I will have to deal with the consequences. So I think, as a proud union member that was in a union for 28 years before I retired from Contra Costa County, I have seen my fair share of wage increases, wage cuts, layoffs. You know, there's a time and a place where things can be done. Yes, it's ideal to be able to negotiate a contract where you can negotiate what is best for employees along with the city. Unfortunately, sometimes that is not able to be done. So I firmly believe that in binding arbitration cases in the past, it has not benefited our city. So my position on binding arbitration has been and still is no. Thank you.
Thank you. And I believe is Cookie next?
Yes.
James?
Yes. Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Okay.
Hello,
All right.
how are you?
So Cookie, what is your position regarding binding arbitration, which was once part of our city's charter?
There is a mixed feelings because for me, I had a positive experience with this, where I was going up against a large company and having that third person help me. And I was the upper winner of this opportunity. Whereas if it had not had this setup, I probably would be in court and I would have to drop it because I wouldn't have had a lot of money to fight the corporation. So for me, I had a positive benefit of having arbitration available. In a city like ours, is explained that there is an up and down about it. I'd be willing to hear more conversations because one part says we're union and I'm against it, and one part says that what happens if you're not union, and where will you be? And so I would like to make myself available to have more conversations around this area, being that my personal experience has been beneficial for me and also have been union. And we're both, again, a good experience and a bad experience. So it just depends on the scenario.
Okay, thank you. And next is Christina. Do you need the question repeated?
No, I'm looking at it right now, and it's a big question. and it's definitely has a lot of elements to it. From what I know, the city of Vallejo actually we don't want it back. We got to follow our residents' choice as to how we decide what salaries should be. Enough of the third middleman meddling into our salary affairs. We don't want it. It's between the city and its unions. Are we planning for another bankruptcy? Is that what this means? I mean, it looks like it's headed in that direction. So I say, no, we definitely don't want to have that as part of our budget planning and that old city charter. I believe that, again, as I said, it's a complicated subject, but it's one that we really need to dig into and start eliminating these middlemen and start budgeting our own salaries and budgets. That's how I feel.
Thank you. And next is Alexander.
Thank you for the question. So just following up on some of the comments shared by candidate Diaz, I am also against binding arbitration. Vallejo is one of the first cities that introduced that here in California in the 70s, and was one of the cities to first do away with it. And that was decided by the voters in the 2010 period. I think as we head into a situation where we're facing a lot of financial constraints, and we're tight on cash. We should have a city management team and representatives of our teams here come to a mutual agreement without there being arbitration. So I am against it.
Thank you, Alexander. And I believe Rosanna is next.
Yes, thank you for the question. Yeah, binding arbitration was put out to voters about, I believe, over 10 years ago, and it was voters decided to eliminate binding arbitration in the city of Vallejo. There are pros and cons to binding arbitration. One of the pros is, you have a third party making a decision, bringing both the labor groups and the city together, and the arbitrator makes the final decision, and whatever the arbitrator decides is final and it cannot be changed. It saves time. It could also save money, but it depends on what the decision is of the arbitrator. Right now, with no more binding arbitration, our collective bargaining sessions have been very successful. We concluded labor contracts with our fire union, the police union, as well as the management union and our IBEW. So the current process that we have in place, which is collective bargaining, has worked both for labor and our city. And so it is the way it is. And if there is if it's put up on the ballot again, the voters will once again decide on if this is what's good for Vallejo, if this is what will benefit our finances, of course, and of course our labor unions also have to be included in that decision. So that's what it is right now. So thank you.
Thank you, Rosanna.
Thank you. That concludes question 2. So we will now move on to our third question. Our first respondent will be Nina Diaz, and we will receive the questions from Loretta Gaddes. Loretta?
Good evening, everyone. I'm glad to join you all for this forum. I'm glad you all took the time out to participate in this forum with you, and I'll move on to question 3. Question 3 reads, how would you involve, communicate with, and receive feedback from local businesses before you make decisions that impact them? And Ms. Mina, you go first.
Yes, I think communication is key, not just with businesses, but with everyone in general. So having more forums, more one-on-one conversations. What I've made a point of doing is going to different businesses, not just now that I'm running, but for years now. I go and I ask, you know, what their needs are, what they feel that they need. I think that these forums and meetings need to be had in different languages. We have a large Hispanic population in Vallejo that are business owners. And at many times when they go to City Hall, I hear back that there was nobody there that spoke Spanish. So it just makes it more difficult for them to be able to understand, you know, in what way their businesses are going to be impacted. So again, reaching out to the community, making sure that that our website, our city website, also has the information in different languages. That our Facebook page for the city is updated continuously. You know, sometimes, you know, we tend to put information up and not all information that's coming out. I've taken it upon myself to translate all information that happens that's pertinent to the community. I also think that we need to help small businesses in knowing how to navigate the system to be able to apply. Too many times they apply for a permit and they're already, you know, they have no money because the permit took too long for them to be able to even open up the business. Thank you.
Thank you for your response, Ms. Nina. You're up next, Ms. Cookie.
Yes, hello, Harvey. Thank you for the question. I think the city has a database of contacts because of the permits they use it. I think one of the biggest things that for us to do is to keep that line of communication to our people. I'm hearing a feedback, I'm sorry. I'm hearing an echo. Hello?
We can hear you.
Oh, okay, yeah, but it's like an echo on my side. Hello? Okay, anyways, I'll just keep talking. I'll just keep talking. So I think it's important that we get out there in our community and talk to businesses. And I know that through the chamber that, you know, the commerce, that you also have a feedback. So we should stay in relationship with you. One of the things I did hear that is difficult to get business going because fees after fees, and it is discouraging to some people. And I think one of the biggest things we need to find out is what is hindering people from starting businesses in our community, and what is making them feel like they're not welcomed. And the ones who are here, to continue having relationships and supporting them and advertising them equally as well. And I think that's what they need to hear from our city council representatives, that we care about their business, because without them, there's no revenue.
Thank you, Ms. Cookie, for your response. Now we have Ms. Ariola.
How would I involve, communicate with, and receive feedback from local businesses before making decisions that impact them? Well, absolutely. Communication is key. And I believe all of our current council members are available during their hours for any constituent that wants to come out and who wants to reach out to them and offer their concerns and plans or an idea. Our council members are available for that. I know that in my district, District 6, I would plan monthly, start off with monthly meet and greets at the GBRD Community Center there with our neighbors. And then have them come to the table and have a business leader come out and talk to the residents, and then work out a friendly relationship with our local business leaders. That would be one way to reach out and extend a hand to communicating with our neighbors and our business leaders. Visiting. I have no problem with walking around and talking to business leaders and finding out how could their community, I see my time is up.
Thank you, Ms. Ariola. We appreciate that. Now, same question, Mr. Matias.
Thank you for the question, Ms. Gaddis. Just want to start out by saying that, community is at the center of my platform and the advocacies and the policies that I want to advocate for if elected to City Council. Specifically as it relates to communication businesses, I think it's important for the economic development team to regularly be connecting with all of the different chambers that exist in the city of Vallejo. And to that end, I'm actually proposing that we have a central office, an office of small business here in Vallejo that coordinates a strategy and regularly communicates with the different chambers that exist so that we're all working together to create jobs and grow our economy here in Vallejo. And so I want to be very intentional about this, not just, saying that information should be put out through social media and in different languages, which is super critical and important and necessary, but also making sure that we're all working in tandem to genuinely move this issue forward. For many years, many political candidates have come forward and said, jobs and economic development is important for this city, but there hasn't been enough resources devoted to that. And so to that end, I want to call for this office to be created to serve as a connector and to make sure that both our private and public sector partners are working together to grow our economy, which will free up funds for us to provide other services to the residents.
Thank you for that response. Next up, we have Mrs. Rosanna.
Thank you for the question. One of my goals is to make Vallejo a business-friendly city, and we are. We actually have streamlined the business permitting processes at City Hall. We have hired the staff that we need at the planning department so that if a business comes to town, they're given the help and the resources to submit their application. So one of my goals also is to promote economic development. And one of the things that is important is we partner with our chambers. I'm a member of the Vallejo Chamber of Commerce and the Filipino American Chamber of Commerce, as well as I actively network with the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce and the Black Chamber of Commerce. And so one of the other things that we can also do is make sure that when a business comes to town, that we give them the red carpet. What that means is, what do you need? Make sure that the guidelines and the criteria is clear from the very beginning so that when they start the process, we want to complete the process in terms of applying for a business. Other thing also is, we want to make sure that when we ask businesses to, once they complete the process, what are the kinds of jobs will they be creating? So again, guidelines and proper communication with our businesses, and again, give them the resources and the help that they need. So we welcome businesses to come to town and we will help you. Thank you.
Thank you for your response. Now we have Mr. Vernon Williams.
Thank you, Ms. Loretta. I just want to be clear that I understand the question is how am I going to involve and communicate with our existing local businesses before making decisions that impact them. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Our local businesses have been hit tremendously as a result of COVID-19, and the sustainability and the viability of our local economic driver is paramount to our stability. And so as it pertains to how we will reach out, communicate with, and consider our existing local businesses who are the pipeline in terms of fueling our economic development. Currently, we have to be accessible. So I feel as though accessibility is a key asset and attribute to any effective leader. In businesses, as a small business owner, as a local business owner, businesses feel as if there's this huge gap in communication. There's a bunch of red tape that prevents their voices from being heard, from their investments being protected, from their contributions being appreciated. And so staying connected, shopping local, let's enhance the existing systems that we have, understanding that our resources are limited at this time. So we have a robust chamber alliance.
Thank you, Vernon.
Oh, that was fast.
Sorry.
Thank you all for your answers to those questions. And now we have question 4.
Yes, thank you very much. And thank you also to all candidates for being with us tonight. Sorry, we've had some technical difficulties. This is the first time we've used this format for this. Before I ask the next question, I do want to remind candidates, we do have a Q&A area that you have the ability to answer questions. It says type your answer to the right. So if you're unable to type an answer, I apologize. It looks like you should be able to, but if we're not getting those questions answers, I apologize to the attendees in advance. We're going to keep working on that. So with all that being said, let's move on to question number 4. You went the wrong way, Tina. We need to get to 4. Okay, so the previous question candidates talked really about communication. For question 4, which we will start with Cookie, what should the city do to create a thriving commercial and retail business climate in Vallejo? And you have 90 seconds.
I believe that we are doing it so far. We are having, we're posting our sites available out there. Welcome to Vallejo. We are advertising. We're letting people know that we have a city that needs their business and their business are welcomed. And to create that climate is beautification, safety, and to let our hopeful business partners know that this is a place to have your business at. I've been to places through the military where cities were hardly anything there, but as soon as we beautify the community, as soon as we let advertise it, stop posting negative things about our city as if this is the only place things happen, not making it like it's normal to be normal to have a lot of crime in our area. I love the websites that we have on Facebook, social media. We have I Love Vallejo. We posting positive pictures. We're welcoming relationships. And so I personally believe it is important to continue that. And as we, the city in itself, as residents, I feel like the best word of advertising is the word of mouth. And if we are taking care of the morale of our community, trust me, people are going to not only want to come here, but they want to stay here. And I believe that is how we're going to build that up.
Thank you very much, Cookie. So Christina, what should the city do to create a thriving commercial and retail business climate in Vallejo?
Right. So what I do know, again, we're going to have to reinvent ourselves during this crisis, not only with the COVID, but the recession that is accompanying it. We probably need to figure out a way to keep our at-home workers who are working from home remotely engaged with programs that can support them. Businesses right now are moving out of town. They're shutting down. They can't afford to pay their employees. So putting COVID and the recession aside for a moment, and everything is now, the smoke is cleared and we're ready to get back to business for Vallejo for better. I do know that in my District 6, the gateway to downtown, we can only bring morale and pride to our neighbors by promoting business. There's no business in South Vallejo proper, and very hardly, there's one small business up in Beverly Hills. Springs Road area, we have those shopping centers. So those two neighborhoods, Beverly Hills and South Vallejo, are dying for businesses. Come on in, talk to me. I'm there every week handing out produce to our neighbors.
Thank you, Christina. Hey, Alexander, what should the city do to create a thriving commercial and retail business climate in Vallejo?
Thanks, James. So just building on my last response, I want to make sure that for the first time, we actually create a dedicated team, an Office of Small Business within the city management team to support and retain our existing businesses and to make sure that we're attracting new entrepreneurs to our city. I also want to make sure that we solicit federal funding and state funding. The city of Stockton received funding recently to support its businesses. We should be in a position to do the same too. Part of my plan calls for setting aside analysts that can serve as thought partners to our businesses to make sure that we keep dollars local here in Vallejo and to make sure that we're also creating jobs. And then along those lines, I want to make sure that we also take a look at what are the public buildings that we have here in the city of Vallejo? Are we able to not only create low-cost leases for folks to start their businesses here, but also create, in addition to that, create different fee structures. So for example, depending on the amount of tax revenue that they're bringing into Vallejo, we set aside one fee structure for them to set up shop here. So I want to get creative because this is really important for us to be able to build infrastructure across our city.
Thank you, Alexander. So Rosanna, what should the city do to create a thriving commercial and retail business climate in Vallejo?
Thank you for the question. There are several things that the city can do. That is, we have a planning department that provides the support if there's any things that businesses would need. For example, just recently when we were allowed to open, the restaurants were allowed to do outside dining, so that brings in customers to eat at local restaurants, as well as the city also promotes these on its city website. Our city also partners with the local chambers of commerce, and we also promote and work with Visit Vallejo to promote shop locally and buy locally. That brings in tax revenues to our city. Social media is a very powerful tool, especially with COVID-19. Lots of people go on social media, go on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. That is actually free advertisement for our local businesses, especially the small businesses. We also want to make sure that in terms of the chambers of commerce, we also partner with regionally the Solano EDC, the Economic Development Department, Economic Development Corporation. And they have resources that also provide support to small businesses. Solano County actually put out a $2 million support for local businesses in Solano County, and hopefully Vallejo businesses will also access that. Thank you.
Thank you, Rosanna. Appreciate it. And last respondent for this question, Nina. What should the city do to create a thriving commercial and retail business climate in Vallejo?
I think a couple of the things that need to be done is to have these conversations with large businesses that want to invest in Vallejo. Perhaps providing them incentives as they start up their businesses so that they can provide more employment. On a smaller scale, I think that we need to make the application process easier for people that are applying for business license and everything else that goes with that. We need to have the application process explained to people that are wanting to open up businesses. I think there's a lot of confusion, and sometimes people give up and don't follow through with their applications because it's just too confusing. There also, one thing that I would like to see is the signage on different locations for the city, maybe to help in giving some sort of credit so that we can have nice signage along different streets. That would beautify the city, and at the same time it would bring attention to these businesses. And we need to cultivate a base of people that live here that are employment pro-business folks. And then also, as Rosanna said, there is the $2 million that the Board of Supervisors just approved for the COVID funding for businesses that have been affected. We need to buy local. Anytime that we can, we need to stop shopping outside of Vallejo. That only damages us, and people don't understand that. They think that somehow buying outside of Vallejo is going to make the product better, when in reality, we make our Vallejo better when we buy local. And then of course,
Yeah,
Oh,
thank you, appreciate
I
it.
guess it's not, of course. Thank you.
So thank you. So candidates, we're going to move on to question number 5 before we
Hey,
do.
James, did I get it? Excuse me, James, did I get a
Yes, sir.
stab at that question? I don't recall.
We are. Oh, did we not cover you, Vernon?
Unless I'm suffering from short-term memory loss. I could be. My apologies.
It's my fault. Thank you, Vernon. Go
Not a
ahead.
problem.
What should the city do to create a thriving commercial and retail business climate?
My approach is that we have to invest in ourselves. And what I mean by that is we have to build the city that we have in order to get the city that we want. We have to invest in Vallejo. The cornerstone to economic development is beautification. The marketability and the viability of our presentation in terms of the market of Vallejo is substandard, to put it lightly. So when we're talking of attracting economics to our city, the first consideration of a corporation is going to be the marketability and the viability of that market. Are our public safety mechanisms in place to protect the investment of those who are looking to invest into our city? So I propose, as opposed to looking externally for the investment, we as a city begin to invest in ourselves by beautifying our city, by creating a marketable and a viable city by which we will attract economics. But it starts with building what we have to get what we want. And there's a simple shift in the mindset just in terms of us investing in us. And that's when we'll reap a sustainable return on investment, when we begin to invest in ourselves. Thank you for remembering me, James, and giving me a shot.
Sorry about that, Vernon.
Not a problem.
Okay, so we'll move on to question number 5, and we are moving back to Leo Callejas from Solano Hispanic Chamber. Our first respondent will be Christina.
Thank you, James. So, Christina, what is your position on Measure G?
Measure G is a bad idea. Like I mentioned before with the other question, we're in the middle of a crisis. We've got the COVID and businesses are hurting. So Measure G, or any tax hike for that matter, is not a good idea in a town like ours that is trying to survive. Measure G is a bad idea. It's a regressive tax. We don't know where that money's going. It's going right into the general pot to be used at whim for whatever reason. And I don't think our citizens, our neighbors, and our community deserves to be slapped with another price hike of their taxes. We were talking about shopping local. Well, what's going to motivate them to shop local if they can find a bargain in the next town because their sales tax is lower? And those who can't afford to shop in the other town will be stuck with paying the taxes here in Vallejo. So no, it's a bad idea. We have to mind our budget at home. We have to tighten our belts. We have to budget what we can't do at home. Shouldn't our city government be responsible in that same respect? I would certainly hope so. So no on G, absolutely not.
Thank you, Christina. And Alexander, you next. What is your position on Measure G?
Thanks, Leo. So I've been asked this question over the course of our campaign, and I've been unequivocal on it. I am against Measure G. In fact, the City Council passed initially in 2010, 2011, Measure B. It was supposed to address safety issues and a whole range of other priorities, and then it was permanently extended several years after. Now we are presented in the middle of a pandemic with that same set of services that that it would cover, and we can't continue to tax our most vulnerable and our businesses to cover for mismanagement. I think we need to address the revenue side of the house. We need to grow our economy. We need to be applying for grants. We need to make sure that we are leveraging, even philanthropy to cover some of the services that we have been providing for some time. We need to take a whole of agency approach to address this issue, and continuing to tax folks is not the way to address our underlying root causes. Some parts of Vallejo are taxed more than others, Mare Island, Hidden Brook, for example. And so we just have to be really careful about doing that. And I'm just against it 125%.
Thank you, Alexander. Rosanna, what is your position on Measure G?
Thank you for the question. Measure G was put on the ballot by the City Council on a 5-2 vote this coming November election. Let the voters decide. That has always been my position. The same as the school bond in 2018. Let the voters decide to do what they want to do. If Measure G passes, it will help the city go through and deal with after effects of COVID-19. If Measure G passes, it will help maintain fire protection, emergency response. It will also keep our public spaces healthy, safe, and clean. It will also support local businesses. It will help us implement the tough police reforms that we all want to happen, including accountability measures. It will also ensure that we address our homelessness problem here in the city. So those are just the few things that will benefit Vallejo if Measure G passes. My position has always been it's on the ballot because we want the voters to decide if this is what they would like to happen. So again, I'm supporting Measure G, and I hope that the city of Vallejo and the rest of the citizens support Measure G. Thank you.
Thank you, Rosanna. Now, Vernon, what is your position on Measure G?
Thank you for that question. Essentially, what we're asking here is for our residents to afford our city leadership additional dollars to potentially manage or mismanage without any return on investment on the previous tax. And so I'm in opposition to Measure G for several reasons. There's not any specificity in terms of the direct application of the tax dollars, for one. For two, as we're in the heart of an economic crisis and we are not sure what the ultimate impact is going to be moving forward, I consciously couldn't vote for an initiative where our residents who are on fixed income would have to endure an additional tax, basically as a result of the mismanagement of our finances that we have accumulated via the previous tax. I cannot consciously support that. What I can support is changing the mindset around how we allocate our dollars to ensure that we're producing a service to our residents where they are served and protected the way that they deserve to be served and protected. That's more of the focus that we should be having this conversation around, changing how we spend in interrogating our budget, as opposed to asking our residents to acquire an additional tax in this economic condition. I don't think that that's wisdom.
Thank you, Vernon.
Thank you, Vernon. Now next it will be Mina Diaz. What is your position on Measure G?
You know, before I made a decision, I pulled up the Measure B information, and it's almost identical to Measure G. And I find it, you know, disheartening that we would have another measure put on a ballot to do things that Measure B should have done. Now, Measure B was supposed to bring in $9.8 million. So let's use a 10-year period. That's $98 million that was supposed to fix road repair. There was a senior center, youth programs, museums, attract new businesses, the arts. And in reality, we have no youth services. Our potholes and our roads are horrible. This is coming at a time when we're in the middle of a pandemic. The people that will be more impacted will be the people that are on fixed income, those that are single mothers trying to put food on the table for their children. Now, one of the things that worries me about, you know, let's let the voters decide, that would be fine if we provide enough information for them to make an informed decision. I have been talking to a lot of people, and people don't know what Measure G is. Now, if we look at our taxes, we are going from 8.375% to 9.125%. We will be the highest in Benicia, Fairfield, Sassoon, Vacaville, and American Canyon. Canyon has a 7.75% tax rate. Vallejo, with all the problems that it has, we're trying to turn it around with all the problems with the police department, the shootings, the blight, the graffiti. To put this on is one more problem that we're causing our own residents. I firmly oppose Measure G, and I will voice my opinion and get people to back up my position.
Thank you, Mina. Cookie, you're next. What is your position on Measure G?
I support it because it is the only way we have the ability to provide expanded services for our community, and that is demanding. Our city doesn't normally provide homeless situations, youth support services, and mental health response, but that is what this community demands and deserves. We don't need Measure G. We will survive without it, but we will not be able to provide more and better services without it. Sales tax is paid by all who spends money in Vallejo, not just the residents. I do believe that we should apply for grants. I do know about the Measure B, but I also was part of Measure S for the school district. We heard the same concerns, but we definitely knew it was needed. Also, too, most importantly, as you said earlier about the amendment that the voters voted that out, and we stood by that. And I think that we should leave it up to the voters to decide whether we should have this or not. It should be up to the voters.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. That concludes question 5. We will now move on to question number 6, and this will be asked by Sue Vaccaro. Sue?
Thank you, James. Alexander, you're up first. If elected, what steps would you take to put Vallejo on a firmer financial footing?
Thank you so much, Sue, for your question. I think first and foremost, we have to be fiscally responsible. It goes without saying. We have to continue to build our reserve. We also have to make strategic investments that have a multiplying effect. And what I mean by that is that they don't result in additional costs for us down long term and actually result in cost savings. As it relates to making sure that we're on a firmer footing, I want to take a look at the new contracts that we're signing, making sure that they're both fair and balanced and don't adversely affect our budget. We have seen over time increasing costs for some of our major drivers like police and fire. And so we have to be smarter about, the contracts that we're signing and the long-term impact that has in our ability to service our residents. In addition to that, I also want us to explore in terms of a package of reforms that I want to propose for city residents, reestablishing the city treasurer position. The city of Vallejo does not have a city treasurer, and all other cities in Solano County do have that. I want to make sure that there is a representative from the city that is closely working with the finance department, that is soliciting input from our residents to make sure that whether it's managing our finances or looking at our investment portfolio, we are making the best decisions in taking care of our city, and we are making the best investments. And that person would be responsible for regularly reporting to the public and to the city council, an independent elected person responsible for letting us know what is their opinion of what's happening, and just so that we're looking at things objectively as well. And so continuing to build the reserve, making sure that we are putting independent bodies in place to work with the city management team, and also making sure that we're growing our businesses, which I discussed earlier. I think those are the 3 steps to put us in firm financial footing, and also taking a look at our contracts to make sure they don't have long-term debt obligations or consequences for us.
Thank you, Alexander. So Rosanna, if you're reelected, what steps would you take to put Vallejo on a firmer financial footing?
Yeah, thank you. For the last 7 years I've been on the council, we've had a balanced budget. That has never happened before. We also have a $14 million reserve as of this fiscal year. And we continue to put aside and make sure that we have 12, 13% of our general fund set aside for reserve. So that is prudent financing. We also need to continue to monitor the budget, not just semi-annually, but quarterly. So in this end of October, we will be looking at our budget and look at where we are in terms of revenues and expenditures. The other thing that we can also do is leverage the funds that we have in the city and leverage it when we're applying for grants to help fund homeless programs. Help, for example, we just got a grant to hire police officers to help with our crime issues, and that is the COPS grant from the federal government. We also will partner with Solano County Mental Health to establish a mobile crisis team, and that will help us leverage funds in terms of providing mental health services and crisis intervention services. We have an expert fiscal team, and let me tell you, having an expert, well-trained, experienced fiscal team is key to any organization. They need to know what they're doing. And so thank you.
Thank you, Rosanna. Vernon, you're next. If elected, what steps would you take to put Vallejo on a firmer financial footing?
Critical question, Sue. I think we first have to recognize exactly where we are. So our forecasted projected revenue is 228 million, and our projected expenditures are about 235 million. So yes, we do have a $14 million reserve. However, that reserve has been accumulated through the taxation of residents and not so much us growing our economic pie. So it's kind of a smokescreen in a sense, because if we continue down the avenue that we're operating down, we'll continue to withdraw from our reserve and we'll sink before we know it. So we really have to look at interrogating the budget. We have to be guided by the highest and best use of our money, literally microscopically analyzing the line items against our outcomes, which are serving and protecting our residents the way that they deserve to be served and protected. In microscopically analyzing the budget, we may find areas within the budget where we could invest a small seed that would reap a greater return to sustain us in terms of growing our economic pie, which would preclude us from having to continually withdraw from our reserve. I think quarterly, reviewing the budget on a quarterly basis to clearly identify salary savings earlier throughout the fiscal year is another way that we can pay attention to those areas by which we can reallocate and enhance. Shopping locally, building our economy, revisiting the priority. Thank you.
Thank you, Vernon. So Mina, if elected, what steps would you take to put Vallejo on firmer financial footing?
I think that there's a lot of decisions that have been made that could have avoided a lot of financial loss. For one, I'm a realtor, and I would never, ever recommend that my clients purchase a property where they have to fix the property and not have a clue what it's going to cost. And that's the way I see the police building that was just purchased at the waterfront. We don't have an idea what it's going to cost. Now, although I firmly agree that the police department needs a new building, that building was not the location that they needed to have. I think that our reserves that we have is basically Measure B money. You know, it's not so much of the economic growth, but it's the money that we are now trying to get again with Measure G. And we can't continue to do that. You know, I have to live within my means, and so does everybody else. We cannot continue to ask the neighbor, you know, to come and bail us out of financial mismanagement. I think that, you know, these steps need to be very well thought out in order to avoid bankruptcy, because, you know, if we don't take action now, we're going to be heading in that direction. There must be reallocating money from different departments to other departments that can do certain services and not cost as much as current departments that are doing the work. We need to reevaluate the budget. We need to look at it. And when I say look at the budget, I mean all of the budget, not superficial, not just what we want to take and add, but everything. Dig deep into it to make the proper cuts.
Thank you, Mina. Thank you. Next is Cookie. Cookie, if elected, what steps would you take to put Vallejo on firmer financial footing?
I believe that it's easier for me to say something from the other side of the diocese, but I do believe that when you are behind the diocese, you see things more clearer. So some of the things that I've observed that we should contribute towards our reserves, paying down our unfunded liabilities, and be relentless in the pursuit of economic development and federal, state, and county funding. That's how we're going to do that. Bring more business into our community, revisit our area. We have to make sure that we have a healthy budget and make sure that we're taking care of our community, our staff. It's, you know, when I was homeless, I had to buckle down. I had to start putting some things aside so I can make sure that that never happened to me again. And I believe that we are moving to the right directions. We just need to make sure we have a healthier community. And like I said earlier, contributing towards our reserves is important because that's going to help us in the long run so we don't file for bankruptcy. Paying down those unfunded liabilities, can't say that again. But I thank you very much for this opportunity. It is a challenge. Again, it's easier said on this side of the diocese compared to be behind the diocese. So I would like to look more into the budget. Thank you.
Thank you, Cookie. Christina, if elected, what steps would you take to put Vallejo on firmer financial footing?
Okay, first of all, let's get right down to brass tacks. 78% of our general fund budget is salaries. Why not think about asking the safety service unions to hold off on their salary raises until we get through this crisis? That would be one way, if they're willing to work with the city council and city manager with that, we can help stave off another crisis. Just, you know, for a year or two, just to hold back on their raises. Is our budget is being eaten up by their salaries. 400 Mare Island Way is, again, as Mina said, yes, I'm pro-police. I'm all for the police. I'm definitely see that they need a new headquarters, but we need to reorganize that group as well. They need to be reorganized, and 400 Mare Island Way is not the place for them. There's other vacant buildings. There's 2,900, as a matter of fact, vacant buildings in Vallejo. So let's find one that's suitable and not 400 Mare Island Way. Let's cut our losses with that. Put it on the market. Hopefully somebody will pick it up and buy it, and then we'll get back some of our money. But raising taxes is not the way to go about doing a quick fix for making a quick buck off of our citizens. Absolutely not. So thank you.
Thank you, Christina.
Thank you, candidates. That's the end of our 6th question. We'll move on to question 7. We'll be starting with Rosanna, and the question will be asked by Loretta. Loretta? Oh, you're muted, Loretta.
Thank you. Question number 7. On June 1st, Vallejo businesses were looted and the city imposed a curfew. If you were a city council member and a similar event occurred, what would you do?
You're muted.
You're muted.
Yes, thank you for the question. Yes, that was a very unfortunate time in Vallejo. It wasn't just in Vallejo, it actually happened all over the Bay Area. And this was as a result, a reaction as a result of the George Floyd shooting, unfortunately. Of course, our police, our law enforcement were on alert. They did their very best to protect citizens, to protect businesses, because the looting was taking place past midnight. And we wanted to make sure that we, that no one gets hurt. And also, one of the things that the city had to do was to enforce a curfew. And that was, if it happens again, that's what the city needed to do, is impose a curfew, because citizens of Vallejo need to be at home and to be safe, okay? So similar event occurred. That's exactly what I would like to do. Again, the social media messaging should have been done much better. And if that were to happen again, the city has learned from that experience that that has to be more messaged out and use all platforms, whether it's social media, email, announcement on our local TV channel, because we have channel 28, and also contact all media outlets in the Bay Area to say, hey, curfew is being imposed in Vallejo, and that is you stay home to be safe. And so that's one of the things that if it does happen again, I would do it that way. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Rosanna, for that response. So, Mr. Vernon, the question is, on June 1st, Vallejo businesses were looted and the city imposed a curfew. If you were a city council member and a similar event occurred, what would you do?
Yeah, great question. And that was, I remember that night. I remember that week, actually. And I was glad to see the council take a step in leadership and enforce some type of a curfew, although it was not abided by, to say the least. And so I believe in that sense, we were caught off guard in terms of VPD. Our law enforcement response was completely caught off guard. And not only was it one night, but it was consecutive nights. And so in addition to enforcing a curfew, I believe that it would have been critical to be proactive in terms of assuming what the impact would be, recognizing the first couple of days of looting that our businesses experienced. I mean, I have friends who had to arm themselves in front of their business to protect their investments. And so I would have liked to see our police department reach out to neighboring entities, California Highway Patrol, as we've now brought them in to kind of curtail the frequency of the sideshows. The same thought in terms of enhancing our public safety to protect our businesses while enforcing the curfew, so that we can ensure that our residents and our business investments are served and protected the way that they deserve to be served and protected.
Thank you, Vernon, for that response. Ms. Mina, the question is, on June 1st, Vallejo businesses were looted and the city imposed a curfew. If you were a city council member and a similar event occurred, what would you do?
I think some of the things that were done is things that I would have done as well. I mean, first of all, I want to say that safety is a priority for me, not just for the citizens, for the residents of Vallejo, but also for our police officers. And as Vernon said, we were kind of sidetracked. Now, with that said, I want to add that the curfew was needed. Things were out of control and they were happening throughout the city, and it made it very difficult for everyone. Something was bound to happen, and it did. I think that the George Floyd incident did bring about certain, things, certain responses by people, but we have to keep in mind that, we've had George Floyd incidents here. So, communicating with the family members of those that have lost their family members is really, really important, because sometimes that's all it takes. If you feel like someone is listening and is doing something, whether it be, the training that you're asking that's personal bias, for the police department, or, holding the city council accountable, people just want to be heard. So I think that it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate that we lost a life, and but again, safety is a priority. And I think the police being out there and protecting the citizens was something that they had to do. And I agree with the curfew. I totally agree with the curfew. We needed to have an end to the chaos that we were going through that night.
Thank you, Ms. Mina, for that response. Next, it's up with Ms. Cookie, and I'll post a question on June 1st. Vallejo businesses were looted and the city imposed a curfew. If you were a city council member and a similar event occurred, what would you do?
I feel like first of all, I'm very happy that our city did what they did. I was not here. I was in Southern California, and there too was a curfew put in place. In fact, we couldn't visit. We couldn't do anything. I was actually due to come home, and I couldn't do that because of the curfew that was put in place. It is something that needs to be done. I also think, however, at the same time, people react frustrated when they feel they're being ignored and they're not being heard. And I think that reaction of some people who had the right heart to express that is got misstrued with the looting. I do believe I would also encourage a curfew. It's not saying that that you still don't have a chance to speak, but as a city, we need to address those issues. As my other constituents candidates stated, people want to be heard. What happened to George Floyd happens all over the world, as we found this out. So I think that people were angry. They were angry at the police. They were angry at everyone. And it just went to another level where even that night a life was taken. So I feel like, yes, I would also encourage a curfew, but I also would open a dialogue conversation at the city hall so people can express their feelings in a safe environment.
Thank you, Ms. Cookie, for that response. Ms. Christina, on June 1st, Vallejo businesses were looted and the city imposed a curfew. If you were a city council member and a similar event occurred, what would you do?
Right. Oh yeah, that was a dark time. Certainly that week, the city exploded into chaos, and yes, the police were unprepared for what happened, and as such, communication or lack thereof was filled with overreaction. I think there was a lot of overreaction on behalf of the Vallejo PD, and nothing against them for that, because we're a small Vallejo Police Department, and having to respond to such a chaotic war zone was understandably, bad things could happen to innocent people, and we found out that in fact was the case. And by publicizing to our Bay Area viewers that we're understaffed, we don't have enough police force, this is why these things happen, it invites this kind of activity, smaller level and on a larger level. So we need to clean up our image of our Vallejo Police Department, and we need to clean up our image of the city, and we need to clean up what everybody sees about us. If this were to happen again,
Thank you, Christina.
on the last, and then yes, incur a curfew for. I'm sorry, time.
Thank you, Ms. Christina, for that response. Next, we have Mr. Alexander. Same question. On June 1st, Vallejo businesses were looted and the city imposed a curfew. If you were a city council member and a similar event occurred, what would you do?
Thank you, Ms. Gaddis. I appreciate the question. And saying, had I been a council member, I would have supported the curfew. It was an unprecedented time in our city with both the national and the local events that were occurring. And I think that we've seen over time that with each successive event that we've had here in Vallejo, that our agencies have adapted and they've put new plans in place to ensure that our residents and our businesses are safe. I think going forward, it's going to be important for our community, our businesses to regularly connect with our safety agencies so that we know if this were to occur again, it's not just about deploying additional personnel across the city, but that there are tangible steps that each resident and each business owner can take to protect their family in addition to the services that are being provided by the city. And I would agree with Councilmember Verder-Liga that it's also important for us to share out information. I think for far too long, there has been a communication vacuum. And so that is very important in this respect and in other respects that we're establishing channels of communication, that we're regularly communicating with our residents and other stakeholders in the city, and that we're learning from each incident so that we don't have any loss of life or resources here in Vallejo.
Okay, thank you very much. That concludes our question 7. This will be our final question for the night. I know, Dr. Verder-Liga, you have a city council meeting to go to. I know we're moving as quickly as we can. I'm going to skip past question 8 that I have and move to question 9 because I think that's a nice change of pace for the previous one, or the next one, excuse me. Next one. And we're going to start with Vernon Williams for the final question that we'll be able to ask you tonight. Vernon, can we move forward to the next question, please? There we go. Vernon, what is an example of a time when you brought 2 opposing groups together to accomplish a task for the greater good?
That's an excellent question. In 2009, 2010, my company at the time was in contract with the Workforce Development Board of a neighboring county, Contra Costa County. And we were dispatched out into the unincorporated area of North Richmond to provide vocational training services, job placement, post-secondary education placement for out-of-school youth ages 14 to 28. If you all recall and have a history in the Bay Area, in 2009, the city of Richmond recorded 49 murders. We identified that there were a total of 28 shooters from the various sides of Richmond who were involved or responsible for a lot of the street violence that was happening at that time. Through Office of Neighborhood Safety, who I was a partner with, we were able to bring together the groups from North Richmond in a neutral location, South Richmond, through services that we were able to provide that exposed them to what was possible for them beyond the Iron Triangle. In 2011, the city of Richmond's murder rate dropped to 28, I believe. 2012 decreased even further. So the result of us being able to effectively and efficiently engage with those opposing sides of the city and bring those sides together to bring restoration and peace to a city of Richmond that was ailed with violence at that time is work that I'm extremely proud of. And even further, it's work that is absolutely necessary for us to lead in the city of Vallejo. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Vernon. So now I'd like to move on to Mina. Mina, what is an example of a time when you brought 2 opposing groups together to accomplish a task for the greater good?
You know, I've worked with folks all the time, and sometimes they don't see eye to eye. So I'm just going to pick one that really broke my heart many years ago when I was an eligibility worker here in Solano County on Tuolumne Street. I was interviewing a woman that was applying for cash aid and food stamps and Medi-Cal, and she had her 3-year-old little boy with her. And when she walked in, right behind her, her husband, who she was separated with, ran in and started pulling on the child. They each had one arm and they were pulling. I mean, it was a very discouraging moment. It was scary for all of us, but I was able to talk to him and explain to him, you know, the well-being of his child and what he was doing, and also the legal consequences that were going to accompany what he was doing as well. So after a long and lengthy conversation, he was able to calm down. She was able to calm down, and this child sat in the middle of both of them with half of a smile, I guess, on his face. He wasn't too happy. So, I mean, this might not be major, you know, two rival groups or anything like that, but to me, it made me go home that day feeling like I had changed the life of this little boy. We right now are going through so many hardships because of the pandemic. You know, children are not safe at home sometimes. There's domestic violence has increased. So just doing that day for me made a big difference. And I'm very proud of myself for that.
Thank you, Nina. Thank you very much. Cookie, what's an example of a time when you brought 2 opposing groups together to accomplish a task for the greater good?
Thank you very much. So when we was in the United States military, we was losing not only mothers, but we're also losing babies. And the community was at awe with it because there was not service available for us. Our general thought that what we did have was good enough for us, and we as dependents realized it wasn't. So I formed as a leader, I formed organization, and we sat down and we talked with our general. And not only did we come together where we're fewing at one time, we not only got doctors, OBGYNs, we got pediatricians, and we also got daycares and community centers. I believe that sharing from our heart about what we were going through made a difference, where at that point, I too almost lost my son because we didn't have proper medical help. The second thing I would have to say is the ORSM. We had opposing, angry, fighting, and I just reached out to the best of my ability to share my truth and to let them know that although we want business here, it has to be not at the cost of someone's health. It has to be a healthy business. And apparently it worked because they're not here for the greater good of South Vallejo. So I believe having that opportunity to have great dialogue and be truthful is what made that happen.
Thank you, Cookie. Thank you very much. Okay, Christina, what's an example of a time you brought two opposing groups together to accomplish a task for the greater good?
Well, thought long and hard. After listening to everybody's comments, I've honestly never been in a situation like that unless it was a fight between my siblings. So I've always tried to work things out as they come along and nip them in the bud. Although yesterday I was out campaign precinct walking over there in on Maple Avenue. And surprisingly, there were a lot of people home locking themselves in place because of the smoke. And there I was out, campaigning, handing out my flyers. So I've gotten a lot of doors closed on me. I'm not interested. No, thanks. Not in, but you're a registered voter. I don't care. Blah, blah, blah. So it encouraged me to well, talk to me. Why are you not interested in voting this time around? And then so we engage in a conversation. And next thing you know, he takes my little postcard and he thanked me for it. Go down the road again, further down Maple Avenue, and knock on the door. Sorry, no, we're not interested. And then he asked me, well, can you do something at City Hall about this pole in my driveway, a lighting pole? It's made for an RV and I can't get my RV in there. So I find communication, things will always work out for the better good.
Thank you, Christina. Thank you. Alexander, what is an example of a time you brought two opposing groups together to accomplish a task for the greater good?
Thank you, James, for the question. Some of the examples shared are very heartwarming and truly show instances where two opposing groups came together and completed a task. I think in my current role, one of the things that I'm very proud of is so I serve in a capacity where we receive funding from foundations, and sometimes these foundations have a set of legal and compliance requirements that they expect grantees to abide by. And what we found was that disproportionately funding wasn't flowing to frontline communities to do the very critical work. And so, over the past of at least the last 2 years that I've worked for the organization that I've worked for, I've come to sort of understand what the needs are of on the one hand, the funders who have a set of requirements and expectations that they have from anyone who's receiving funding. And then on the programmatic side, the hesitations and understanding the burden that any set of requirements or may have in executing and doing the work that they've set out to do. And so what we've devised for the organization that I've worked for is a process by which, when you're applying for a grant, when you're receiving funding from organizations, the process is much more streamlined. It fulfills the requirements of philanthropic partners who are supporting a particular initiative, and then reduces the burden on the frontline communities that are doing the critical work. And so that has been an instance where, we took a very collaborative approach, speaking to each party on what they were hoping to accomplish. And we ultimately arrived at a solution that benefited all parties and gets the community groups that are doing the very important work to maximize their time on that, not reporting or the other set of requirements that are in place. So I'm really proud of the work that I did around that.
Thank you, Alexander. And our final respondent for these questions tonight, Rosanna. What's an example of a time brought two opposing groups together to accomplish a task for the greater good.
Okay. One example comes to mind is in my mental health professional career. I was as a marriage family counselor. I have I've worked with couples who are fighting over custody, and that's really the most difficult situation to resolve, because parents, both mom and dad, care and love their child. So a time has come, and when the situations occur, I listen to both sides. And what you will find is both parents mean what's best for the child. So the bottom line is what is in the best interest of the child. So eventually, both parents, mom and dad, have agreed on a custody arrangement, as well as visitation rights for the child. And so that's one of the ways that I have brought them together to agree on something. And the thing is, what is, find common ground, what's in the best interest of the child, and eventually both parents come to agreement. Because, the bottom line is they both love this child and care for their child. It happens also at my work. And again, the key thing is listening, trying to look at the pros and the cons, and then what is in common? What do they share in common? And start from there to move forward to resolve their issues.
Thank you, Rosanna. Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for answering the 8 questions we had for you tonight. We will now move to our concluding remarks. We're going to switch our order up a little bit because Rosanna has a city council meeting that's already started. So Rosanna, you will be our first to give candidate closing statements. You have 90 seconds. You have to unmute yourself. Unmute yourself. Yeah. There you go. Okay.
Okay. Thank you to Vallejo Chamber of Commerce for hosting this candidates forum. This November 3rd is a very important election for Vallejo. I am Councilwoman Rosanna Verder-Aliga, and I'm running for City Council District 1. With 25 years of volunteer experience, leadership, management, and public service, and mental health professional experience, I am uniquely qualified to serve you on the City Council. I am compassionate, responsive, courageous, and decisive. If elected, I will continue to listen to your concerns, do my homework, weigh all options, and make informed decisions that will benefit all of Vallejo. I care about Vallejo. I raised my family here. And during these unprecedented times, Vallejo will need an experienced leader who will work together with the mayor, city council, the staff, businesses, community to meet all these challenges. I will prioritize maintaining financial stability, enhance public safety, promote economic development, support businesses, and rebuild trust, and most importantly, implement much needed reforms in the Vallejo Police Department. My commitment is to continue working tirelessly to make Vallejo safe, welcoming, financially sound, business-friendly, vibrant, and a diversity celebrating community. Let's move forward together, Vallejo. I ask for your vote on November 3rd. Early voting starts October 5th, and I thank you all. Good evening.
Thank you, Rosanna. Appreciate it. Vernon, now you are up with your concluding statements, closing statements.
And I'm going to sign off.
Thank you, Rosanna.
Thank you.
Okay, Vernon, you're up.
I want to thank the business community for hosting this ever so important forum tonight. The future of our city is truly dependent upon this year's election. And the business community, you all are the cornerstone to the foundation that's going to springboard us into our future. We have to invest in ourselves. Our city's focus should be on strengthening our local economy, should be on beautifying our city, purchasing local, and putting forth a valiant effort to address the poverty rate by creating and investing into programs that really prepare our residents for the workforce. Being experienced is not a handicap. Each elected Vallejo official started from a place of inexperience. In that, inexperience creates leverage for candidates to change ineffective approaches, as shown by where Vallejo is right now. I encourage the Chamber Alliance to cast your endorsement to the candidate that has exemplified the ability to build, to innovate, and create businesses from the ground up. One that has reflected the skill sets required to create solutions to issues that our residents face in our communities on a daily basis. We need an entrepreneurial mindset in the dais. I have 2 businesses, but I have to give more time to my upcoming business, and that is the city of Vallejo. For a new pathway to the future, please elect Vernon Williams III for District 1. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Vernon. Now we will move on to Mina for your closing statements. Mina?
Yes, I would like to thank everyone that took the time to be here today and to listen to what we had to say. I know that these are very difficult times for all of us with the pandemic that we're dealing with, but I can assure you that we will get through this. My vision for our city is to see a safe place for all of us to reside, a prosperous city that attracts new businesses and that will thrive and contribute to our economy, and a city that is able to provide programs for our children, our youth, take care of our seniors and our homeless population, therefore make Vallejo a better place for everyone. I would be honored to earn your vote. I am a compassionate advocate. I am a leader that has been in Vallejo for over 36 years. I am not afraid to make the difficult decisions that are needed in order to make our city move forward in the right direction. I humbly ask for your vote on November 3rd. Thank you.
Thank you, Mina. Cookie, your closing statements. You have 90 seconds.
Hello, my name is Helen Marie Cookie Gordon, council member candidate for District 6. My ongoing community advocacy demonstrates my commitment, my passion, and experience for serving at the constituents of District 6. For my dedication involvement with the public schools, improving transportation routes, requesting wheelchair cuts and sidewalks, and standing up for the health of our neighborhood against example, cement plants. My voice and my heart serves the needs of District 6. I'd also bring to the table opportunities for business experience, leadership experiences, courage to be honest and speak truth to power, planning, city building, urban designs, and entrepreneur. Most importantly, I have humility, confidence to thrive, and determination to be the service that makes a difference in our city. As a council member, I have profound impacts on our lives and livelihoods of thousands of people. I would be honored to receive your nominations to be recognized as for ValPAC.
Thank you, Cookie. Thank you. Christina, your closing statements. You have 90 seconds.
Well, it was a long, wonderful night. Getting technically on board and having everybody participate. Thank you for hosting this event. It's very informative, I hope, to our viewers that are watching there on out there in the cosmos. If you're just logging on, my name is Christina Ariola. You can call me Tina, and I'm running for District 6 for City Council. I was born and raised in South Vallejo. That district is in my blood. I love it. I live there, and I'm going to fight for it. The voices have been unheard for decades, and it's time to have them be represented down at City Hall for a breath of fresh air, and let's hear what they have to say. I've mentioned this many times, but Sonoma Boulevard is that slices right through South Vallejo. And when people come to visit our city, that's what they want. They go down to the waterfront to all of our wonderful festivals. And what do they see when they get here? It's that horrible Sonoma Boulevard. I've talked with some folks down at Caltrans and talking to them about getting a welcoming sign for South Vallejo. Our food desert is appalling, and the health of our neighbors in District 6 need a grocery store for their health's sake. So please, I humbly ask for your vote. Vote for Tina, District 6. Thank you.
Thank you, Christina. And our final closing statement tonight will be given by Alexander. Alexander, 90 seconds.
Thanks, James. And thank you. Thanks again, everyone, for having me here and for participating in this forum tonight. I'm Alexander Matias, and I'm running for City Council here in District 1. Each one of you will have a choice beginning in a few weeks to put together a new team that moves our city forward. As you zero in on a decision, I ask you to please ask all of us what our specific new solutions are to longstanding issues that we face here in Vallejo, and to consider what each council member will contribute to the broader council beginning in 2021. This is a truly unprecedented time that calls for a new approach and new leadership, an approach that is grounded on experience, specific plans, and ultimately results. A new leadership that serves on your behalf and not the other way around. A leadership that will be honest, transparent, accountable, inclusive, and unifying. I believe in Vallejo's promise as the city of opportunity, having set roots and community here. I am genuinely looking forward to raising my family in the years and decades ahead. I am eager and excited to get to work on creating jobs, making our communities healthier and safer, beautifying our city, and effectively managing our city government. Please visit matiasforvallejocouncil.com to join our team and to learn more about our priorities. I'm humbly asking for your support and vote to start change now. Thank you.
Thank you, Alexander, and thank you to all of our candidates for being here tonight. I'd like to acknowledge and thank our other moderators, Loretta Gaddes with the Solano County Black Chamber of Commerce, Sue Vaccaro with the Solano County Philam Chamber of Commerce, Leo Callejas from the Solano County Hispanic Chamber of Commerce for joining us tonight and helping facilitate our event. We apologize for some of the technical snafus that we had tonight, but we hope you were able to hear everybody and get a good understanding of the candidates. As you were told during the event, make sure you vote. November 3rd is coming around the corner quickly. And so we want to see you all at the polls because that's where it truly makes a difference. So for the Vallejo Chamber of Commerce, ValPAC, the Vallejo Chambers Alliance, my name is James Cooper. We thank you for joining us tonight, and we hope you can join us tomorrow night when we have the second night of our forum featuring our mayor's races. So thank you very much, and we will see you soon. Take care.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Yeah.